Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to try to beat Pokemon Black 2 without EXP or items. And by no items, I mean no items in battle, no items out of battle, and no held items. Exceptions are Repels, things that allow you to learn new moves like TMs or Shards for move tutors, some quality of life stuff, and Pokeballs of course. The most significant implication of this rule is that I cannot ever heal during the Elite Four, if I can even get that far. Like with the no damage runs, I'll be allowed to reset and try battles again whenever I want to, though I'll try to come up with consistently winning strategies rather than brute forcing difficult battles over and over again. Let's see how the run went. I name myself FF7 and my rival YouTube. The starter choice doesn't really matter since it's going to be level 5 the entire game, but I go with Tepig and name it 1. Yeah, I wasn't too creative with names this time. YouTube wants to battle immediately, but Tepig takes down his Oshawott with a few tackles and gains 2 EXP. The action replay code I used, which I'll put in the description, didn't completely work I guess, so every Pokemon defeated awards 1 or 2 EXP instead of 0. Anyways, I dash upwards onto Route 19 and catch a Patrat along with a couple of Purloins. Philosophy Town is next, and I decide to clear out the trainers to the right of it, for a combined 7 experience points and money I can't really use except to buy Pokeballs. I head north towards Philosophy Ranch, where I have my second battle against my rival. This one doesn't go as smoothly as the first, since his Oshawott is now 3 or more levels higher than each of my Pokemon. Tepig does almost no damage with Tackle, so I prioritize weakening Oshawott's defense with Tail Whip. After a couple of Tail Whips, Tepig goes down. Even with the lower defense, the first Purloin only deals the same amount of damage as Tepig did. However, Oshawott decides to use Tail Whip 4 consecutive times, allowing me to win using only 2 of my 4 Pokemon. After catching several Pokemon and supposedly saving a Herdier from the new Team Plasma, whose designs are so much of an upgrade from the original, Alder asks me to defeat a couple of preschoolers. Which is no easy task by the way, since their Pokemon are level 9. Anyways, I catch several more Pokemon from the ranch including Mareep, and choose only the best ones to keep on the team, based on levels and natures. Goodbye Tepig. As a warning, I'm gonna catch a lot of Pokemon that I won't use. My thought process was, catch literally anything that can potentially be useful, and then game plan later. Comment down below with a guess on how many Pokemon I'll end up catching throughout this video. Once I feel comfortable enough to challenge the first gym, I head back to Aspertia City. My game plan for Charon is to paralyze his 2 Pokemon with both of my Mareeps. Mareep 1 uses Thunder Wave on Patrat as it raises its attack with Workup. However, due to the 25% chance of Patrat not moving due to the paralysis, Mareep can use Growl to reduce attack more often than Patrat can use Workup to raise its attack. After Mareep faints, my Lillipup can continuously tackle without taking too much damage. Unfortunately, I make the poor decision of switching in my Mareep into an attack from Charon's Lillipup, so I lose the battle on the spot. Round 2. Now that I know I need a safe way of getting in my Mareep into Charon's Lillipup without risking it using Workup beforehand, I intentionally let my own Lillipup faint to Patrat after bringing it down to low HP and lowering its defense enough with Leer. This allows my second Mareep to finish it off. Charon's Lillipup fortunately uses Workup, so I get the Thunder Wave off. Even if Lillipup had used Tackle, it would have been paralyzed 30% of the time due to static, and I'm not even certain it would have KO'd anyways. The rest of my army cleans up the battle, but just barely. On Route 20, there's a patch of dark grass, meaning I can catch stronger double-digit level Pokemon. The catch is that Pokemon found in dark grass have lower catch rates and can sometimes show up in double battles. I catch mons such as Venipede, Sawaddle, and Patrat, then enter Verbank City. I observe a perfect display of alliteration, then head down to the Verbank Complex where I catch a couple of Magnemites, a Magby, and a Growlithe. That's a huge improvement to the team, given that I now have 2 defensive steel types and an Intimidator. Not to mention, both Magnemites have Sonic Boom, a move that deals 20 damage no matter what. This is great in the early game due to opposing Pokemon having less HP, but will eventually phase out of usefulness. Gym time. Roxy has 2 Pokemon, neither of which can hit Magnemite even neutrally. Koffing's Tackle does more damage than I expect, but Sonic Boom is a 2-hit KO. It takes 5 Sonic Booms to KO Whirlipede because of Roxy's healing items and ability to use Protect. Following that battle, I head over to Pokestar Studios and create an incredible blockbuster. Roxy's dad realizes that he should probably follow his dreams only when he's not on the clock, which allows me to sail to Castelia City. I clear Team Plasma out of the sewers and catch a Rattata, Grimer, Zubat, and another Zubat while I'm there. The Zubats should be really useful against Berg's Swadloon and Leavanny, but his Rock-type Dwebble might be an issue. Berg leads off with Swadloon. Zubat's 4x super effective Wing Attack doesn't even deal 50% to it, and it lowers my speed with String Shot. Berg uses a Hyper Potion after the next one, but Wing Attack crits and presumably gets a high damage roll to KO Swadloon. I initially planned to sack Zubat to Dwebble to get a free switch into one of my Magnemites, but it can still be useful against Leavanny, so I just make a regular switch. Smackdown unfortunately deals more than a third of Magnemite's HP, so Magnemite only gets off one Sonic Boom before going down. The next Magnemite KOs Dwebble with 2 more though. I sack my second Magnemite to get a free switch into Growlithe, which intimidates Leavanny to lower its attack. Cut still deals an insane amount of damage, but I get a Leer off to lower Leavanny's defense. Growlithe faints, so I send in my first Zubat again. Cut deals more than 50% of Zubat's remaining HP, while Wing Attack does the same to Leavanny. Leavanny's Citrus Berry takes it out of range of another one though. Zubat faints the next turn. I have 2 Pokemon left. Grimer is physically bulky, so it should be able to sponge a few hits. I have Grimer use Sludge, which puts it in range of my second Zubat's Wing Attack. I have it use Disable next in order to stop Leavanny from using Cut, which is the most threatening move to my remaining Pokemon. Mudslap is next in order to lower Leavanny's accuracy, and Grimer follows up with another Sludge, which ends up poisoning Leavanny. Leavanny is 2 turns away from fainting to poison, so I switch in Zubat to stall out these final turns. Zubat cannot faint to Leavanny even with a crit due to Cut being disabled, so it takes a 4 times resisted Struggle Bug and a 4 times resisted Razor Leaf before finishing off Leavanny with Wing Attack. Another nail-biter of a gym battle, though I could have managed that better. On Route 4, I spent a decent chunk of time hunting for a high-level Sandile with the Intimidate ability. To make this easier, I could have used Repels. Repels prevent wild encounters with mons below the level of the Pokemon at the front of your party, but I did not think about this potential application of them here. I also pick up a Darumaka with Hustle, an ability that raises the power of physical moves by 50% at the cost of a 20% reduction in accuracy of those physical moves. Sandile and Darumaka should help with the upcoming battle against Colress, a Steel-type user. Colress's first Pokemon is Magnemite, to which I send out one of my own. With the help of a Sonic Boom Miss, a Super Potion, and a bit of Paralysis Cheese, Colress takes out both of my Magnemites without letting me take a single KO. Rattata finishes Colress's Magnemite off before going down to his Clink a couple turns later. I send in Darumaka and spend about 20 seconds debating whether to click the 100% accurate Incinerate, which can KO in 2 hits, or the 76% accurate Fire Fang, which can KO in 1 hit. I decide to be a gambler, and of course it backfires. The next one hits though, so the miss didn't really matter. I upgrade my team by catching several high-level Pokemon in the Desert Resort, such as a few more Sandile, another Darumaka, a Sandshrew, a Trapinch, and a Sigilyph. In Nimbasa City, I team up with Rosa to battle Emmett and Ingo, who I was very happy to see in Pokemon Legends Arceus, but Rosa's Servine ends up doing most of the heavy lifting against their Boldore and Girder. That unlocks the Battle Subway, which I'll actually use in this run. Later, my Sandiles take out the gym trainers pretty easily, and then I draw out a game plan against Elisa. Her 3 Pokemon, Emolga, Flaffy, and Zipstrika, all carry Volt Switch. The remaining attacks are all physical, meaning Intimidate will be huge this battle. While Emolga and Zipstrika have Pursuit, a Dark-type move, Flaffy's only other attack is the Normal-type Takedown, meaning if I can get a Ghost-type, I won't have to worry about taking damage from Flaffy. So it's time to go back through Desert Resort and to Relic Castle. I could have visited this place much earlier, but as I'm sure you've noticed by now, I wasn't the most efficient this run. I reworked my entire team yet again, catching 3 stronger Sandiles with Intimidate, a couple of Yamasks, and a Sandshrew. And a Maractus outside. After some moderate consideration, I decide that 4 Sandiles and 2 Yamasks should be enough to basically guarantee my victory. I teach all 4 Sandiles Rock Tomb and start the battle. I lead with a Sandile to land 1 Intimidate and immediately switch into another one to activate another. Emolga can only use Quick Attack or Pursuit, so Sandile survives comfortably. This lets me get off 2 Rock Tombs. Of course, the second one misses, and Sandile faints the following turn. My next Sandile's first 2 Rock Tombs land, forcing Elisa to heal Emolga the next turn. The next 3 land as well, and Emolga is left with a sliver of HP as Sandile 2 goes down. The 6 Rock Tombs have minimized Emolga's speed, allowing something as slow as Yamask to outspeed and KO it with Nightshade. Unfortunately, Zipstrika gets sent out next, meaning Yamask is Pursuit trapped. As expected, Zipstrika uses Pursuit as I try to switch out, KOing Yamask. I only need 1 for Flaffy though, so this is fine. I try to Intimidate cycle with Sandile, but Zipstrika decides to go for the resisted Pursuit rather than a neutral Flame Charge, dealing a heavy chunk of damage. Weird, because Flame Charge would have still done more. Eventually, I get my healthiest Sandile back onto the field and land a Sand Tomb. I have it spend the following turns using Mudslap to repeatedly lower Zipstrika's accuracy. Sandile dodges enough attacks to get off 1 more Sand Tomb before fainting the following turn. Zipstrika goes down to Yamask's Nightshade and victory is effectively secured. I continuously switch between Yamask and Sandile as Flaffy either goes for Volt Switch or Thunder Wave against Yamask and Takedown against Sandile. Once Flaffy runs out of takedowns, it begins to use its electric moves on Sandile. I sacrifice Yamask and Sandile cleans up the battle with a series of Sand Tombs and Mudslaps. A battle with Team Plasma ends way too close for comfort thanks to Washog's Confuse Ray, and I head out west of Nimbasa, where Heartbreaker Charles breaks my heart. He has 2 fossil Pokemon and a Sigilyph, which might as well be a fossil. Oh, it's also a rotation battle. His Pokemon are 5 to 7 levels higher than my entire team, and it takes all of my Pokemon to KO just one of his. Yeah, I need to find some stronger Pokemon. I forgot to save after the gym battle, so I've got to do that all over again too. Once that's over, I resume Pokemon hunting. In Losslorn Forest, I pick up a couple Cottonies, and on Route 5, I pick up a Minccino and 4 Lipards, meaning I'm already at 55 Pokemon. Lipard is probably the best Pokemon available at this point in the game, which is pretty sad. But they're enough to help me against Charles. I have my first Lipard just throw out attacks until it faints, and win the battle without losing any more of them. After catching 3 Ducklets, I reach everyone's favorite Unova location, Driftvale City. A current Team Plasma Grunt harasses an ex-Team Plasma Grunt, and then gets body slammed by my rival. Clay's team is filled with mons with great coverage, so I'm going to need to plan this battle out more carefully than any other before. But not right now. Catch first, think later. I first grab a Swadloon on Route 6, and then pick up a Tranquil since I now have access to Fly. This lets me quickly head back to Nimbasa City, which is right next to Losslorn Forest. Here, I can catch Heracross, which can help me against Clay's Excadrill and Krokorok. Unfortunately, it only has a 5% encounter rate, so I only catch one before getting lazy and leaving. I teach it Dig. Here's what the team looks like. Clay doesn't have any setup moves, so attack drops from Intimidates will be permanent if he doesn't switch out. I lead Sandile into his Krokorok and immediately switch out into Ducklet, hoping he goes for either a ground move or Torment. It goes for Torment, meaning Ducklet cannot use the same move twice in a row. Krokorok takes out about 2/3 of Ducklet's health, and then gets hit by Bubble Beam for a solid chunk of damage. Ducklet has done its job, so I let it faint and bring out Swadloon. Krokorok goes for Torment again and gets knocked out by Bug Bite. Swadloon has a high defense stat, so I wasn't too worried about getting hit by an attack there. Next up is Excadrill, so I protect to see what it might use. This move ends up being Rock Slide, so I switch into Sandile to get one Intimidate off, at the cost of a lot of HP. I might need another Intimidate, so I switch in Cottony, which shouldn't faint to any of Excadrill's moves, barring critical hits. It lives Slash with about 10 HP. Because of Cottony's ability, Prankster, all its status moves have increased priority. This lets it hit Excadrill first with Cotton Spore, cutting its speed in half. I bring in Heracross next, and have it use Dig. It doesn't do as much as I expected it to though, and Excadrill drops my speed with Bulldoze. Worried that I'm now slower, I go for counter on the next turn. Clay hits me with Excadrill's strongest attack, Metal Claw, and deals 30 HP, meaning counter will deal 60. It's barely not enough for the KO, so Excadrill eats its Citrus Berry, which is actually good for me since it takes it out of range for Clay to use a potion. Heracross survives Metal Claw on 3 HP, and uses Dig, taking out Excadrill a turn later. I let Heracross faint to Clay's last Pokemon, Sandslash, and then bring Sandile back out. Expecting Sandslash to either go for Bulldoze or Fury Cutter, I switch out into Tranquil. It uses Crush Claw instead, taking out more than 1/3 of Tranquil's HP. I sacrifice Sandile to get one last Intimidate off, then switch into Swadloon. We trade Razor Leafs and Crush Claws for a couple turns, but during the second one, Sandslash gets a defense drop while Swadloon misses Razor Leaf. Crush Claw lands another defense drop the next turn, but Razor Leaf crits. Knowing Clay will heal up the next turn, I attack again. I then switch out into Tranquil, which takes Crush Claw comfortably. Roost allows Tranquil to recover HP faster than it loses it, and a few flies later, Sandslash faints. An ill-timed critical hit could have jeopardized my endgame strategy, but I didn't feel I had any obvious safer options. I easily clear the Pokemon World Tournament, but then decide to enter the conveniently docked Team Plasma ship along with Hugh and Sharon, where we get ambushed, of course. What was anyone thinking there? After deleting 6 of the 12 Plasma members and getting kicked off the ship by the Shadow Triad, I explore a newly unlocked location, the Relic Passage. I catch a Woobat, Boldore, and Girder, the last of which I teach Strength to. This lets me reach the lowest floor of Relic Castle. Remember how I caught a million Sandiles earlier because of Intimidate's usefulness? I'm gonna do the same thing here, with Krokoroks instead. But not before realizing that there's a, forgive me, ball shortage, causing me to go all the way back to Castelia City to buy a ton more, flying back to Driftvale to re-enter the passage, catching a better Boldore, and then finally returning to Relic Castle. I'm almost broke now, so this better be worth it. I catch 2 Krokoroks around level 30, and then attempt to catch the strongest Pokemon available right now, a level 35 Volcarona. After about 10 throws, I succeed. It has a solid defensive typing and a special attack boosting nature, so it should theoretically be very useful in the future. Maybe not against the next gym though, flying types are not the best for it. Sharon gives me the HM for Surf on Route 6, Cobalion randomly jumps out in front of me, and then I enter Chargestone Cave. There's a potentially dangerous triple battle trainer here, but he's fortunately avoidable, so I get out of the cave and into Mistralton City pretty easily. Skyla disses Professor Juniper by comparing her to her dad. I catch a Zangoose and Zebstrika on Route 7, add those to the party along with a Boldore I caught back in Relic Passage, then try to clear out the gym. I'm pretty sure at least a few previous gym challengers broke some bones trying to pass through this. Skyla's 3 Pokemon are Swoobat, Skarmory, and Swanna. Skarmory has high physical defense, and Zebstrika's only electric move is Spark, a physical move, so I decide to teach it Volt Switch. Either way, I don't expect this gym battle to be difficult. I lead off with Krokorok to intimidate her Swoobat, which surprisingly only has physical attacking moves. One of those is Acrobatics, a 55 base power move that doubles in power if the user is not holding an item, which Swoobat isn't. Swoobat uses Attract on turn 1, meaning Krokorok has a 50% chance of not moving every turn that it's out. It gets immobilized, meaning the crunch doesn't go off. I discover that Zebstrika is not at full health. Whoops. I have Krokorok use Crunch again the next turn, but it gets immobilized again and hit hard by Acrobatics. I let it faint, and send in my next one, which is also male, meaning it's also susceptible to Attract. Swoobat fortunately goes for Acrobatics instead, and gets hit hard by Crunch. I switch in Boulder, which, you guessed it, is also male. Swoobat uses Attract on the switch-in. It clicks Heart Stamp on the next turn, which has a 30% chance to flinch. In addition to the Attract, that means Boulder has a 65% chance to not move this turn. The negative outcome occurs, so I repeat the turn. This time it works, and Smackdown knocks out Swoobat. Skyla sends out Skarmory next, which KOs Boulder with Steel Wing. This gives me a free switch into Zebstrika. I Volt Switch out into Krokorok to deal a lot of damage and get an Intimidate off on the same turn. Skarmory goes for Agility, doubling its speed. I don't need Zebstrika to take any more unnecessary damage, so I let Krokorok faint. Steel Wing goes off first because of the speed boost, but Volt Switch finishes off Skarmory. Just Swanna left now, though I am unsure if Zebstrika outspeeds it or not. I switch in Volcarona to try to get off a String Shot, which would have Swanna's speed. Swanna goes for Air Slash, Volcarona survives comfortably, and of course misses String Shot. I didn't even realize String Shot could miss when I clicked the button, but apparently it's 95% accurate. I let Volcarona die and then send in Tranquil to try to get off any damage before sending Zebstrika back in. It feints to a critical hit Air Slash. Remember when I said that this gym battle shouldn't be difficult? I send out my last Pokemon and I needed to either outspeed Swanna or survive a 65 base power Bubble Beam. It fortunately does the former, and Spark takes out Swanna. 6 badges down. I received the TM for Acrobatics, which might be the most useful TM I've gotten so far on a pure damage perspective. I retrieve Professor Juniper from the Celestial Tower, and am rewarded with a Lucky Egg, an item that boosts the EXP of the holder by 50%. Definitely the best item for this challenge. Along with Skyla, Juniper, and Bianca, I fly over to Lentimus Town. On the outskirts of the town, I catch a Grumpig and a Drifblim. The latter will likely be more useful due to its solid defensive typing. It also lets me kick out Tranquil, since it can also learn Fly. Once I add Drifblim and Grumpig to the party, I enter Reversal Mountain, teaming up with Bianca. The first double battle is actually kinda difficult. Their first 2 Pokemon are 2 middle evolutions in Boldore and Golbat, which we run through pretty easily. However, their last 2 Pokemon are Darmanitan and Excadrill, 2 of the strongest Pokemon in the game. Together, they wipe out 3 of my Pokemon and 1 of Bianca's, but turns out having 9 Pokemon is better than having 4. The rest of the mountain ends up being pretty easy to get through, so I arrive at Undella Town, where my rival wants to battle again. He leads off with Unpheasant, so I bring out Zebstrika. Even though it's 6 levels lower, Zebstrika is faster, and Volt switches out into Grumpig. Unpheasant uses a Raw Razor Wind, a 2-turn move that is basically a Special Slash. Game Freak has to buff that move. Grumpig is a Special Wall, so it takes the Razor Wind comfortably, and fires back with a Power Gem. After trading Power Gems and another Razor Wind, Grumpig takes Unpheasant out. It feints to a Seed Bomb from Simisage the following turn. Volcarona is up next and deals just enough damage with Struggle Bug to knock Simisage out in 2 hits. My rival sends out Samurott, so I switch in Krokorok to get an Intimidate off. It still feints to a physical 40 base power Aqua Jet. As long as Zebstrika survives a couple of hits, I should win. Aqua Jet still does a lot of damage, and Spark does 40% back. Samurott doesn't use Aqua Jet on the next turn, letting Spark go off first. This inflicts paralysis, and Samurott luckily doesn't move. Probably doesn't matter because of Drifblim in the back, but still pretty lucky. Spark gets me the victory on the following turn. North of Undella Town is one of my favorite routes in any Pokemon game, Route 13. It's also one of the largest. Probably the most useful Pokemon during this entire run is present on this route, Cobalion. I don't have any Pokeballs though, and am relatively short on cash due to spending a lot on other balls, so I just continue on with the story for now. I reach Lacunosa Town, where I'm told a story about Kyurem eating people. Awesome. After that, I head back to Driftvale City and west onto Driftvale Bridge to solve my cash problem. While some of the shadows lead to Ducklet encounters, some lead to wings. And for some reason, wings are very valuable in this game, able to be sold for 1,500 apiece. After grabbing a bunch of these wings, I sell them and buy several Ultra Balls. Cobalion is one of those Pokemon with a catch rate of 3, so I'm going to want to afflict it with some status effect to improve my odds. I intimidate it with Croc Rock, lower its accuracy with Mud Slap, then try to spam Sparks with Substrika. Each Spark has a 30% chance of paralyzing Cobalion, and I should get off at least 2 of them, likely 3 or more. Unfortunately, Cobalion gets a critical hit with Iron Head, doing 3 times as much damage as it should have done. It doesn't flinch Substrika though, and after the very first Spark, gets the para. From then on, I lower Cobalion's health into deep red, and after 10 throws, I successfully capture it. I get to use it in the very next story fight, teaming up with my rival against the Sage Zinzolin and a Plasma Grunt. Cobalion easily deals with Zinzolin's 2 ice types and finishes off the Grunt's Golbat. I let Samurott knock out the Grunt's Garbodor out of the kindness of my heart. Once that's all over, I head west towards Oplucid City. But first, I need to cross the village bridge, which a guy with a 999 game win streak is blocking. Again, out of the kindness of my heart, I take the long route around the bridge. For some reason, these tennis players running back and forth start running faster as you begin to run. Under the bridge, I catch a Seviper and Golduck. Virizion jumps in front of me, but like with Cobalion, I'll hold off for a bit. First thing I do in Oplucid City is head over to the gym. I only actually need to defeat 3 out of the 5 trainers to reach the top. The first trainer and second trainers are pretty easy, but for the third battle, I have a choice between a rotation battle and triple battle. Triple battles imply that one of my Pokemon can be attacked 3 times in the same turn, so let's not choose that. The rotation battle trainer has an Axew, Fracture, and Druddigon. Cobalion is able to take out Druddigon and Fracture through sheer defense, but eventually falls to Axew of all things, so Viper takes it out. I heal up my Pokemon at the center, add a couple of Croc Rocks back to the party, and teach Cobalion Workup. Drayden's Pokemon are Druddigon, which only has physical attacks, Flygon, and Haxorus. Cobalion should outspeed all 3, so as long as Druddigon is weakened by Intimidate, I should be able to set up easily. By switching between both Croc Rocks, I'm able to get off 5 Intimidates before falling. Revenge is only a 60 base power move as long as Druddigon isn't damaged during the turn, so I'm able to use Workup a couple times while taking minimal damage. I don't want to risk a critical hit, so I KO Druddigon with a couple of Iron Heads. I guess it was pretty stupid to not set up more since I would have definitely survived a critical hit from Revenge anyways. Flygon is next. It takes 1 Iron Head, flinches, and faints to the next. Cobalion would have survived Earth Power, but probably not by much. Drayden's Ace, Haxorus, takes about 85% from Iron Head, eats its Citrus Berry, and uses Dragon Dance, raising its attack and speed. Cobalion is somehow still faster the next turn though, and knocks it out, giving me my 7th badge. Drayden discusses Kyurem, and on cue, Team Plasma uses it to freeze the entirety of Oplucid City. After defeating all the grunts present in the area, Zinzolin wants to battle again. Just like the previous time, Cobalion takes out his entire team in single strikes. Drayden correctly deduces that Team Plasma was after the DNA Splicers, and then stupidly holds out the DNA Splicers for the whole world to see, including the Shadow Triad. Great job. Now that Virizion has Hypothermia, it's ready to be caught. Like with Cobalion, I teach it Workup. I fly back to Indela Town and enter the Marine Tube, which has the hardest hitting theme in the game. In a literal sense. Near the exit, I obtain the TM for Facade, and then reach Humalau City. Like with the Oplucid City, I immediately challenge the gym. Marlin's one of the easier leaders in the game. Virizion uses Sacred Sword to break Caracross sturdy without putting it in range for Marlin to use a healing item, and Caracross uses Crunch, activating Virizion's Justified, which raises its attack. The next turn, I have it use Workup as Caracross uses Crunch again. Giga Drain picks up the KO and recovers most of the HP lost. Wailord will probably live an Energy Ball, which only has a base power of 80 in this game. However, due to a critical hit, it faints. Energy Ball actually does less than 50% to Jellicent, as it deals almost nothing back with Ominous Wind. I set up one more Workup, but Jellicent recovers all of its HP. I have Virizion use Giga Drain to try to not put Jellicent in range of a healing item, but it picks up another crit and I win the battle. Something I like about this game, and its prequels for that matter, is that the end of the story takes place after the 8th gym. Having the story end after your journey just makes it feel significantly more important. Unlike battling Lysander 3 times after the 7th gym within a 30-minute span. On Route 22, Colress gives me the Colress machine to do something Colressy. I try to pick up Terrakion before taking on Team Plasma, but it actually wipes me out before I can catch it. I'm successful the second time around though. Terrakion has the most optimized stats of the Justice Trio, as its lowest stat is in special attack, while Cobalion's and Virizion's lowest stats are in their defenses. The X-Grunt from Driftvale City provides us with information regarding the Plasma ship's whereabouts, so I fly back to Indela Town and surf northeast to enter Seaside Cave. I use the Colress machine to wake up a Crustle which was blocking the path to the exit, and catch it. Marlin saves the day by allowing us to board Team Plasma's ship, since he apparently stowed away or jumped on it. He then spouts some surfer bro gibberish and leaves, possibly the weirdest character in the game. Let me know if you think there's anyone weirder. I rotate between battling grunts and testing out different warp panels, and eventually gain access to the room above where Kyurem is being held captive. Teaming up with YouTube, we battle Zinzalin and a grunt again. Ice types suck against Cobalion and Samurott, so it's a quick victory for me. The Shadow Triad teleports us off the ship, which flies away to the giant chasm west of Humilau City. Once I arrive, I have to go through another part of the ship in order to obtain the plasma card, which lets me enter in a password to access the final room, where Colress awaits. But first, I have to deal with Zinzalin for the 4th time. They should have just made another one of the 7 Sages bad too, this is getting too repetitive. Cobalion cleans it again. Team Plasma's Doctor heals my Pokemon, and then I challenge Colress. I lead off with Virizion as he leads off with Magneton. I want to get Cobalion in safely, and staring down either a Thunder Wave or Volt Switch from a higher leveled, 120 base special attack Pokemon is not that. Virizion's objective is to kill Magneton, which it should be able to do after getting paralyzed and taking a Flash Cannon. Just kidding, Flash Cannon crits, Virizion gets fully paralyzed, and the next one KOs it. Cobalion comes in and KOs Magneton, so Colress sends out Magnezone. Magnezone has the ability Sturdy, and Colress has healing items, so I don't see the point in setting up. I go for a Sacred Sword right off the bat, dealing a bit more than 50%. Unfortunately, Cobalion gets hit by a Thunder Wave. It survives discharge, but like Virizion, gets fully paralyzed. I guess it's up to Terrakion. Sacred Sword knocks out Magnezone, and Metang gets sent out. Terrakion eventually KOs it after surviving a Meteor Mash, but Behem destroys the remnants of my team. I think I need to get some new Pokemon. I catch an Amoonguss, Sneasel, Emolga, and Excadrill. During that session, I wipe to a Wild Metang. Don't ask. Excadrill should be the key to winning this battle, since it can't be hit by Thunder Wave. I set up a Swords Dance and take a Flash Cannon for just about 25%. Rock Slide breaks Sturdy, but doesn't flinch, leading to another Flash Cannon. Earthquake KOs Magneton, and out comes Magnezone. Earthquake to Sturdy, Flash Cannon, Colress heals, Earthquake to Sturdy again, and Earthquake to KO. Should be a wrap now. Behem gets sent out and faints to Earthquake. Or not. I send out Cobalion, which avenges Excadrill with an Iron Head. Sacred Sword is a 2-hit KO on Klinklang, though Cobalion takes a Thunderbolt for its troubles. Metang falls after a few Sacred Swords as well, and that's Colress down. The Shadow Triad does not require much trying, and Excadrill cleans the first 2 by itself, while Terrakion deals with the third. Getsis calls on Kyurem to stab me with 8 Shards of Ice, but fails due to N saving the day with his Zekrom, though that allows Getsis to fuse Kyurem with Zekrom during a crazy cutscene. Manipulation at its worst. Thinking about it, he's probably the only villain that was actually pure evil. I lead off with Excadrill to fight Kyurem Black, which ends up being an incredibly easy fight because Kyurem decided to only use Slash and Fusion Bolt. Final boss time. My Pokemon have been magically healed, and Getsis leads off with a Kofagrigus. I get up 2 Swords Dances while Kofagrigus' Shadow Balls deal a combined 40%. Earthquake knocks it out the next turn. Seismitoad is next, but it might outspeed Excadrill, so I switch into Virizion. Drain Punch deals almost nothing. I take the time to set up a workup the next turn, though Sludge Wave does a huge chunk of damage. This workup was important though, since it lets Virizion pick up the 1-hit knockout on Seismitoad with Giga Drain, regaining almost all of the lost HP in the process. Electros has boosted acrobatics, so I switch back out into Excadrill. Strength removes a quarter of the eel's health, then Excadrill falls. Terrakion KOs it with a couple of Sacred Swords, but takes a lot of damage from Thunderbolt in the process. Drapion unfortunately outspeeds and KOs Terrakion with Earthquake. I send out Golduck, and here's where it gets interesting. Night Slash fortunately doesn't crit, so I get off a Soak, turning Drapion into a Water type. This lets me send out Virizion, which can survive any 3 given hits, due to Drapion's best poison move being a non-stab 55 base power Poison Fang. The second Poison Fang unfortunately inflicts the badly poisoned status effect, which can only be caused by this or Toxic. Giga Drain heals back more than a third of Virizion's health, and puts Drapion in heal range. Though it's surviving a bit longer, I get to regain more health. Drapion finally goes down after one last Poison Fang. Getsis sends in Toxicroak, and after one Sacred Sword, it brings me down to my final 2 Pokemon. I taught Dig to Sneasel earlier in case I needed help with defeating Colress, so I bring it out and immediately have it use the move. Sneasel deals solid damage, but Brick Break KOs it 3 or 4 times over. Cobalion is faster than Toxicroak, so I even the playing field with an Iron Head. Cobalion's jolly nature comes in really clutch and allows it to outspeed Getsis' ace, Hydreigon. Sacred Sword does more than a half, a Life Orb Dragon Rush does less than half, and a final Sacred Sword spells the end for Team Plasma. I don't know why Hydreigon's entire moveset was physical, but I'll take it. Onwards to Route 23 and Victory Road. There aren't too many great Pokemon on the inside of Victory Road, but I catch a few just to make the battles inside a bit easier. They are at higher levels than my entire team after all. I catch a couple Golurks along with the Tranquil and head towards the top of the mountain. There's one really tough veteran here though, with his Zebstrika and Starmie. These two Pokemon surprisingly KO my entire team, which is not a great sign heading into the Elite Four. I get a great idea on how I can cheese this trainer though. I catch an unrelated Altaria, then head back to Driftvale City. Inside Rude's Team Plasma Refuge, he gives me with a Zorua, a Dark-type Pokemon. It's only level 25. However, its ability is Illusion, which allows it to take the form of the Pokemon that's last in your party. With Vismon in tow and Virizion in the last slot, I challenge the veteran again. Her Zebstrika goes down to Golurk's Earthquake, so she sends out Starmie. After sacrificing Golurk, I bring in Zorua, which takes the form of Virizion. Starmie's only super effective move against Virizion is Psyshock, so theoretically it should keep using it into Zorua, which is immune. It works on the first turn, and the second, and the third, and so on until it faints to 8 feint attacks. Out of respect, I let Zorua survive and use the rest of my Pokemon to defeat Sawk. And I mean literally the rest. Eventually, there's only one battle left in Victory Road, the final showdown against my rival. His Pokemon range from level 54 to 57, so my current chances of winning are pretty low. I put Zorua back in the box and head over to some dark grass across the river on Route 23. There are several solid Pokemon here, including Sawk, Bouffalant, Mienshao, Amoonguss, Golduck, Gligar, and Vullaby. A Sawk, Golduck, and Mienshao should be enough though, unless the natures are absolutely horrendous. Teach the stronger Golduck Surf to give it a strong stab move, along with Ice Beam to help with my rivals Unpheasant and Simisage. Should be sufficient, let's see how it goes. Right off the bat, Ice Beam gets a critical hit and KOs Unpheasant. Bouffalant comes out next and takes very little from Surf. Wild Charge deals a ton to Golduck, but 20% back in recoil. Hydro Pump puts Bouffalant in potion range as Golduck feints to Earthquake. Terrakion should be able to KO it without taking any damage, and does with a couple of Sacred Swords. I sacrifice Terrakion to Samurott so I can get a free switch into Virizion. Energy Ball, which apparently was a critical hit, deals 80%, while Ice Beam deals under 60% back. Giga Drain finishes Samurott off, and YouTube sends out his final Pokemon, Simisage. Virizion eventually goes down, but not after landing another critical hit, this time with a Sacred Sword. Sawk ends the battle, and I arrive at the Pokemon League, ready to come up with a coherent strategy. Keep in mind, due to my ban on almost all items, including healing ones, I will not be able to use potions between battles during the Elite Four and Champion. So basically, 5 consecutive battles against the best trainers in Unova. I'm going to need some of the best Pokemon. That means repeatedly catching good Pokemon until I find ones with good natures. I catch several Mienshaos and Golducks, since I might need one of each. I identify that a fast Dark-type that can set up will be good against the Ghost-type Elite Four, Chantal, so I fly to Giant Chasm and catch 3 Sneasels. I pick up 2 stronger Excadrills than the one I currently have, along with the one Emolga. I'm going to need a couple TMs like Swords Dance, and power items, specifically the Power Anklet, Bracer, and Lens, which train speed, attack, and special attack in that order. I know I said I wasn't going to use held items, but I'm going to need to do some EV training against wild Pokemon, since there's no way my Pokemon can outspeed the Elite Fours without heavy speed EV investment. Power items can speed this process up to 9 times over, and it's not like they help me in battle. In fact, they cut the holder's speed in half. I get the TMs for Swords Dance and Safeguard along with the Power Bracer in the Battle Subway. I trade a Cottony on Route 4 for a Lady's Petalil, which is holding a Power Anklet. Cobalion, Terrakion, Excadrill, and Mienshao increase their attack and speed by battling many first route Pokemon while holding these items. I have game plans for all but one of the Elite Four, Chantal. I know I caught a few Sneasels earlier, but those are very fragile, especially since their levels are in the mid-40s, and they're also susceptible to being burned by Will-O-Wisp. I go back to Route 23 and catch a few Vullabys in the dark grass, choosing the one with the most speed. I know it's not fully evolved, but there aren't a lot of high-level special attacking dark types left. By the way, that's 108 Pokemon. I grab the Power Lens from a house on one of the shores of Route 13, and then begin EV training Vullaby in special attack and speed. The only thing left to do is to teach my Pokemon the necessary moves, whether it be through TMs, Shard accepting move tutors, or move relearners. Here's what my final team looks like before the finale. Vullaby is level 52 with the moves Tailwind, Nasty Plot, Dark Pulse, and Roost. It actually outspeeds all of Chantal's Pokemon except for Chandelure, which it speed ties. That's why I have Tailwind, but let's hope that doesn't end up mattering. Emolga's level 49 with the moves Light Screen, Ogcore, Volt Switch, and Thunder Wave. Excadrill's level 50 with Earthquake, Swords Dance, Sandstorm, and Iron Head. Mienshao is level 53 with the moves U-Turn, Jump Kick, Swords Dance, and Acrobatics. Again, Acrobatics will be a 110 base power move because of the lack of a held item. Terrakion has a speed dropping nature, so I have to give it Rock Polish, which doubles the stat. It also has Swords Dance, Bulldoze, and Sacred Sword. And of course, Cobalion is last, with the same moveset as Terrakion, save for Ironhead over Bulldoze. Let's finish this challenge. I'll start with Chantal. Right off the bat, I get lucky as Kofagrigus misses Will-O-Wisp following Vullaby's Nasty Plot. I need one more to confirm the KO on all of our Pokemon, which I get, while another Will-O-Wisp goes off. From there, it's simple, as I set up a Tailwind to double my speed for the next 3 turns, then KO Kofagrigus, Drifblim, Chandelure, and Golurk with Dark Pulse. I think I may have lost it the first Will-O-Wisp had hit. Grimsley and his Dark types are next, so I switch Cobalion to the front. Liepard can't really touch Cobalion, so this should be easy. I set up a couple Sword Stances as Liepard uses Aerial Ace twice following its initial Fake Out. The second one crits though, but by this time I've determined that Cobalion outspeeds Liepard. This means that it should outspeed Grimsley's other 3 Pokemon as well, which all have lower base speeds than Liepard. A +4 Sacred Sword KOs Liepard, Krookodile, Scrafty, and Bisharp to win the battle. Before battling Caitlyn, I teach Safeguard to Cobalion instead of Rock Polish to help deal with her Musharna's Yawn. I set up one Safeguard, which blocks Yawn from working. Since Musharna has only Charge Beam and Dream Eater as attacks, it can't touch Excadrill. I Sword Stance as she uses Reflect, doubling her team's defense for 5 turns. I realize I've made a critical error, since Safeguard will fade before Reflect. I have 2 options now. I need to KO Musharna in 2 turns, so it doesn't get a Yawn off. I can also Sword Stance once more, turning what is basically a 1.5 times more powerful Earthquake into a 2 times more powerful one. Or I can attack twice, guaranteeing that I KO Musharna. I go for the latter option, and based on the amount of damage the first Earthquake does, it looks like I made the right decision, just barely. Her next Pokemon is Reuniclus, with 1 turn of Reflect left. Earthquake doesn't KO, and Reuniclus misses Focus Blast, which would have definitely caused me to wipe. Given that I got lucky with the Chantal battle as well, I do the unthinkable and reset to the beginning, so I can at least create some more consistent strategies. I teach Cobalion the moves Safeguard and Volt Switch over Sword Stance and Rock Polish. TMs are permanent, so there should be no issues relearning those moves. Safeguard stops Kofagrigus' Wisp from working, then I Volt Switch out into Vullaby, which is immune to Psychic. Now I start my setup from the first battle. The first 2 Nasty Plots go off safely, as neither Shadow Ball drops Vullaby's special defense. This allows it to set up a Tailwind and live a third, barring a crit. Dark Pulse KOs all of Chantal's Pokemon again. I reteach Sword Stance to Cobalion in place of Volt Switch before battling Grimsley. I don't need Rock Polish since it outspeeds all 4 of his Pokemon anyways. Fake Out does minimal damage, we trade Sword Stances and Aerial Aces, then Sacred Sword sweeps through Grimsley's entire team again. Cobalion has more HP left than last time too. Before Caitlyn, I reteach Cobalion Volt Switch and switch Excadrill to the front of the party this time. I get some damage off on Musharna first with Earthquake, though I get hit by Yawn. Not wanting to go to sleep, I switch into Cobalion, which also gets hit by Yawn. This AI definitely cheats. Safeguard doesn't block an already in place Yawn, so I have to switch out again. Another Yawn. At least I'm stalling out all of Yawn's power points by switching back and forth. I forgot I could Volt Switch instead of just hard switching, so I eventually start doing that with Cobalion too, though not enough times to put Musharna in range of a healing item. Musharna runs out and uses Reflect, so I set up a few Sword Stances with Excadrill and a Sandstorm to double its speed. Once Reflect wears off, Ironhead knocks out Musharna, Earthquake KOs Reuniclus, Ironhead fells Sigilif, and Earthquake destroys Gothitelle to win me the battle with no damage taken. Before fighting Marshall and his fighting types, I teach Emolga Acrobatics over Thunder Wave and Vullaby Fly. Emolga doesn't get Fly, probably because flying squirrels actually can't fly. I also switch Excadrill to the front of my party, since it's pretty much useless against Iris. Marshall's first Pokemon is a Ball of Bulk, Throw. Earthquake does just under 50% unfortunately, and Throw uses Bulldoze, which lowers speed by 1 stage. Excadrill still outspeeds though, and gets off another Earthquake before falling to his second Bulldoze. I send in Mienshao, which can use a free Sword Stance due to Marshall healing up Throw this turn. That lets Acrobatics knock it out the next turn. Marshall sends out his own higher leveled Mienshao, but mine has both Speed EV investment and a speed boosting nature. My Mienshao's +2 Acrobatics takes his Mienshao out. Conkeldurr falls in the same way. The last Pokemon is Sock, with the ability Sturdy, so I U-turn out into Vullaby, sacrificing it. I switch Mienshao back in, and another Acrobatics erases Sock's remaining HP. I reteach Emolga Thunder Wave over Acrobatics, and have Cobalion learn Thunder Wave and Swords Dance, since I won't be needing Volt Switch or Safeguard anymore. I also switch Emolga to the front of the party. Moment of truth. Iris sends out her Hydreigon, as I send in Emolga. I immediately use Thunder Wave, but Hydreigon breaks through Paralysis and does a ton of damage with Dragon Pulse. I set up a light screen, doubling my team's special defense, and Hydreigon gets fully paralyzed. This lets me lock it into Dragon Pulse using Encore before Emolga faints. The Encore is pretty important since Hydreigon could have used a super effective Surf. I Sword Stance twice while Hydreigon deals a chunk of damage with a couple of weakened Dragon Pulses. Its Encore ends though, enabling it to use Surf. Terrakion KOs it with Sacred Sword. I think it was likely to survive Surf, and in hindsight I should have had it use Rock Polish, but I didn't want to risk it. A +4 Sacred Sword KOs Druddigon, and since Iris's Aggron doesn't have Sturdy, it faints in one hit as well. Haxorus is holding a Focus Sash, so it won't do that. Not that it matters anyways, since it outspeeds and KOs Terrakion. Iris has her Haxorus, Archeops, and Lapras left, while I just have my half-health Cobalion and Mienshao. Well, now I need to resort to Thunderwave. As long as Haxorus doesn't break through Paralysis on at least one of the next 3 turns, I should win. It breaks through on the first turn and KOs Cobalion. 2 turns left. I have Mienshao use Swords Dance since one of those is required to KO Iris's Archeops in one hit. Haxorus fortunately gets fully paralyzed, and now I should be in the clear, barring any crits. Its best attack, Dual Chop, can't KO Mienshao without one. Acrobatics breaks Haxorus' Focus Sash, and it uses Dragon Dance. I'm guessing the AI is programmed to use that if it can't KO the opposing Pokemon yet. A second Acrobatics knocks Haxorus out. The last requirement is landing a 95% jump kick on both Archeops and Lapras. 2 95% chances translate to a 90.25% chance. Jump kick successfully hits Archeops, and successfully hits Lapras, making me the Pokemon champion. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and remember to like, subscribe, and comment for the algorithm. Thanks for watching.